We finally got an answer as to why Tutu Atwell, the Rams' $10 million receiver that only scored one touchdown, didn't play very much in 2025 and 2026. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the party, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you want to support every single episode, drop a like, drop a comment. Podcast listeners, write us a review, or read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleach Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's going to be entering his 12th season covering your Los Angeles Rams. You know, I don't know why I said the number 12 this week. I'm gonna wash my mouth out with so that just didn't feel right to throw that out there, Ramily. But on today's episode, Sean McVay gave his end of the season presser. We've got our big takeaways, 10 big takeaways from that, and we also have an answer as to why Tutu Atwell was given $10 million and only had one touchdown, did not play very much. So let's get right into it, Travis. The look says it all. The look says it all, Travis. But you know what? Let's start a positive.
Yeah.
So we're always looking for the roster and the future of the roster. I mean, that's something that always piques my interest, and I know yours as well. And before you know it, all those big pickups from the 2023 draft are going to need new contracts. And Sean McVay was asked about Puka Nacua, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, and Steve Avila, the four pillars of that draft class, and really for the pillars of this team. And he said, quote, that the Rams are very high on them and they have a very high level of interest in re-signing them, but they will start talking about those things in a few weeks. Those guys are going to be a huge part of the conversation. So that is kind of one of the things that is on the Rams to-do list, is like, which of these young guys do they lock up? We know they're going to lock up Puka Nacua. He's going to get a bag. You're probably looking at somewhere north of $150 million. By the way, did you see this about Puka Nacua? He kind of shot his shot at Sidney Sweeney.
I did
you see that?
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. What's the worst that could happen? No? Okay.
I mean, no, like, you have Josh Allen with Haley Steinfeld. You know what I mean? You got Travis Kelce being the biggest pop star in the world. And look, that's my dream right there. That is my dream right there in life, to go on a date with Puka Nacua, because it'd be cool to interview him for this show. It'd be great content. That's all I'm saying.
I have nothing but respect for Puka doing what he did. Shoot, Sidney Sweeney is worthy of the shot, and good for him. Good for him. I respect it highly.
And the funny thing is, I think she has a boyfriend, like Scooter Braun. He's picked the manager, Justin Bieber. But you know what they tell you, right? Don't let your boyfriend get in the way of meeting your husband. So I want to see Puka Nacua and Sidney Sweeney together at SoFi Stadium. You know, like, oh, Justin Herbert, we're going to Madison beer. Let's hold my beer. You know, we can top that with this. But just kind of getting back to that core, though, we don't lose sight of it. I feel like we're a little spoiled here with Sean McVay and his success and continues to get into the playoffs. But it was Les Snead and Sean McVay that pulled together that 2023 draft class. If you're making a list of like how the Rams were able to do this without going to a down to the studs rebuild where it looked like maybe they wouldn't get back to being a Super Bowl contender, it was that draft class that really set the tone.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Like you mentioned, those guys are not just guys that are regular contributors, but one of them is one of the biggest stars in the entire league. You know, that's not where you find those guys typically. Those guys are typically in the first round. Those are where you get Jared Verse. You get those guys in the first round, who, by the way, you're going to have to pay him before too long as well. And I think that figures in to a lot of these things. I think, this is what makes the NFL, I think, the best league in the world. The best league is certainly in American sports as far as our, insatiable appetite for all of this stuff is because no one stays good forever. No one stays bad forever unless you're Cleveland or Las Vegas. That this thing cycles through over and over and over again. And this is why, because you have to make these decisions on these guys. You can't keep everybody that you'd like to keep. If you can keep everybody, then you just start writing checks. Dan Kroenke has all the money in the world. It doesn't matter as far as like trying to create a revenue stream to take care of these guys. It's just by the rules of it all. So you got to prioritize, and you have to prioritize not just the guys in any given year, but what's coming up next as well. You're going to have to pay Verse. You're going to have to pay Fisk. You still have to pay your quarterback. So all of these guys that are going to have to be a part of it. Now, Puka's going to get what he wants, but I think Steve Avila is a really fascinating case study because this is a guy that is really important to what you do. This is a guy that plays regularly, that plays pretty well regularly, but could you find another one? Maybe, maybe not. And these are the questions that I think that Les Snead has to answer. And like you just said, we talk about McVay all the time and his ability to get the most out of his guys. But Sean McVay has allowed, or I should say, Les Snead has allowed Sean McVay to do these things because he keeps finding him, these incredibly valuable players outside of the top 10, 20, 32 picks and finding them later in the draft. That's an incredible weapon to have in your toolbox as well.
Exactly. And it's not just drafting, it's developing, it's putting him in situations that optimize them. So it's really a feather in this entire organization's cap to see these guys have the success that they've had early on. And as you mentioned, this is a league where basically everyone should pay the players that they want to pay. It's not like baseball, right? Where, we can just not pay these guys if we don't want to. Like, these guys are going to get paid. I think it's just it's only a matter of time for sure. And really what's going to keep this Rams team in contention is having success in future drafts. We kind of talked about in an episode following the season that really this wasn't the year for the big rookie impacts that we've seen in previous seasons. You talk about 2023, you talk about 2024. You mentioned Jared Verse, and he also had Braden Fisk in that draft. And this past draft, Poona Ford, Pooh Paul was cut before the season even started, and you really didn't get anything from Jarquez Hunter and Konate Mumfield. He really didn't have the impact they were hoping to have. And then Terrence Ferguson really wasn't that guy either. But this is where we go to our next takeaway. They're still extremely high on Terrence Ferguson. Sean McVay said about Ferguson, quote, "I do think he had a really good rookie season, and I think the best is yet to come. He's everything and that much more that I hoped he would be. And I had tremendously high hopes for him. I think that he's going to be a huge part of what we're going to do for years to come." So I was specifically waiting for his response on Terrence Ferguson, and it kind of blew my mind just how high he spoke of him. And I think for a lot of rookies, it's not the stats, it's not the box score. Clearly, he carried himself well. Clearly, he took to the system very well. And I think that that's a very positive sign for Terrence Ferguson. I would not be surprised if he didn't pop next season for 500 plus yards and a ton of touchdowns.
Here's the one thing that I think I've really come to understand, having watched this team for as long as I have. I know you and I have talked about this a lot, or every day as I know it. Of all the positions on that field, with the exception of the quarterback, the tight ends are the guys that take the longest time to understand what it is they're being asked to do in a Sean McVay offense. All of them come in with expectations, and almost all of them take a minute before you start to get fruit on that tree. Go back to when they drafted Tyler Higbee, right? He comes in, it's like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Higbee may turn out to be the greatest tight end in the history of the Rams. That's really saying something. You go and you look at Colby Parkinson 2 years ago. He comes from Seattle, and it's like, God, he doesn't know what the heck's going on out there. He hasn't done anything for this team. And then this year, he has a breakout season. He's an incredibly impactful guy. I think the same thing is true of Davis Allen when they acquired him over the last couple of years, that the second year really leaps forward after that first year. I expect the same thing with Terrence Ferguson. Because Terrence Ferguson, quite frankly, with the relative draft position of those other guys, has been drafted in a far more prestigious slot. Terrence Ferguson might have gone in the first round. If the Rams are telling the truth, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, they're going to take him in the first round anyway, and they got a chance to take him in the second round. he will be a very good player. I watched him play a lot at Oregon. He's an incredible athlete. He's a very dynamic pass catcher. I think he needs to get bigger and stronger and become a better blocker because they use their tight ends as an offensive lineman quite a bit. But I don't have any doubt at all that he's going to be a major, major player for this team moving forward. It was never going to happen in that first year. That's not what tight ends do in this system. But in years 2 and beyond, they really seem to kind of blossom and become the players that they are. So that was a pick for the future much more than it was the present. And I'm really high on Ferguson.
I agree. It almost feels like with the tight end position with this organization, your rookie season is your year 0. It felt like his year 0, and then you had the fact that he did get set back because of that groin injury. But what Sean McVay really likes about him is the fact that he has that versatility. You can play him in 11 personnel. You can play him in all the different tight end spots. McVay was talking about how you can essentially use him as a receiver, and that's the dynamic, unique thing about him. The Brock Bowers quality that we were looking for a couple years ago when we were high on draft him, and so were the Rams. And then, too, you had the fact that Big Rig Higbee, he's probably going to be gone. I mean, he could be back. We'll see. But he's getting close to retirement. There's more yesterdays than tomorrows. And you still have Colby Parkinson, who had that big drop in the NFC Championship game, but he had a positive season, Davis Allen. So I think the future is bright for the tight end position. And I will say, I don't think there's a situation with Sean McVay where we're just saying that he's going to use him more and he's not going to use him more. I don't think it's going to be a Tutu Atwell situation. And we're going to talk about the Tutu situation because McVay broke his silence on why the $10 million receiver did not play very much in 2025. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Tax season does not have to take over your life because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. And this episode of Locked On Rams is sponsored by BetterHelp. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. And it can honestly feel like everyone else has it all together in their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or just focusing on yourself, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some of the pressure off of yourself. It's easy to assume that everyone else has the perfect relationship, but most people, they're all working through something. And even if you're not in a relationship right now, therapy can help you feel more confident in what you want when you move forward. The biggest thing, it reminds you that you're not behind, you're right on time. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the U.S., and they do the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your goals. And if you want to switch therapists, you can do that at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Also, a big shout out to those everydayers. I know that this is one of my biggest weeks for the everydayers, Travis, because there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of, I've seen the comments all week, Travis. It's like there's fans, Travis, that are commenting on our first episode after the loss for the first time now. It's taken them some time just to get around to watch it. So to those fans, I want to say we're with you. We're in pain too. We're in mourning. And the fans that have been watching the entire time, I'm a masochist. Like I'll rewatch games like right after like the same night of painful losses. But hey, everyone fans differently. So we thank you guys all. Also, now's a great time to join the Everyday Listeners Club. Go to lockedonrams.supercast.com. to join today. You get ad-free audio wherever your podcast. You get exclusive merch, exclusive access to content, and a Discord server where you can talk to myself and other Rams fans 24/7. Almost sounds like a BetterHelp ad too, but for like football. You know what I mean? Like, you talk to me. I'll be your Rams therapist.
That's right.
And we'll kind of get through this thing together. All right, Travis, a topic I know you're excited to talk about. Myself too, because we need explanation as to why the Rams did not play Tutu Atwell as much as you would play a receiver that you gave $10 million to score one touchdown. I will say McVay's explanation does make sense. He said that part of the process was they were going to have him a lot in 11 personnel groupings with Puka and Davante, but then he got injured, and then things started to happen. Puka got injured at one point, and then they found this 13 personnel, multiple tight ends, really heavy packages, and then you just don't have as many receivers on the field, and because of that, Tutu Atwell didn't get his opportunities.
Sure. I mean, I just, this is, we all know why he didn't play. It was very obvious why he didn't play. He hasn't played his entire Rams career, more or less, that it's been one of two things. Either he's been physically unable to play, which happens, he's not the biggest guy in the world, or number two, he's not good enough to play. He doesn't get open enough to play. He doesn't catch the ball enough to play. He doesn't score enough touchdowns to play. They found other guys that can do these things. This is one of the very few instances that I can think of when it comes to the Rams who refuse to just kind of understand the fact that they missed, right? That sometimes you miss. Everybody misses. And I think one of the great things that the Rams have done over years and years and years is understand when they've missed and move off of it as quickly as you possibly can. Whether it's Allen Robinson, whether it's, when the Todd Gurley deal went south right away. They traded their quarterback after they gave him $100 million 5 minutes after it happened. They're really good at saying, you know what? Didn't work. The guy that they drafted from Wisconsin, the offensive lineman who was their first pick in the draft, he's a second rounder, Logan Bruss. He was gone like that. It didn't work. But for whatever reason, they kept trying to make the Tutu thing go. They kept giving him money. And I just don't understand. They missed. It's fine. He just never was a part of this. And I'm sure that everything Sean McVay said is true as far as personnel groupings, and this was working more than that, and he doesn't fit into this one as well as he fit into that one. But this wasn't a one-season thing where something developed out of nowhere and, hey, we stumbled into this 13 personnel group that Tutu doesn't fit into particularly well. Every season there's been one reason or another why he hasn't played, and I mean, every year he's the odd man out just because of bad luck. I find that very hard to believe. I think it's probably far more from lack of production than anything else. Because look, you and I could sit here and name the plays that were big plays. I can't name every Puka Nacua play. I can't name every Davante Adams play, or even Colby Parkinson or Davis Allen or Terrence Ferguson, because there's a bunch of them. With him, it's like, yeah, he caught the home run ball after the guy fell down against Indianapolis. Okay, that was a good play because the guy fell down. We're done. He grabbed a PI here and there. But it's just so peculiar to me that this refusal to just say, you know what, we might have missed on a guy and, we're going to move forward from it. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the production speaks for itself. And the truth about Tutu Atwell is if he was good enough in practice, if he felt like he had to force himself onto the field, the Rams aren't just going to let a weapon sit on the sidelines that they think is going to help them win. And the truth is that they just didn't think that he was good enough to help them win. They thought that, okay, multiple tight ends is better than Tutu Atwell on the field. They thought that, okay, Konate Mumfield is better than Tutu Atwell on the field, right? I mean, and that's just the bottom line is, look, I know, like, I always, like, people always fault them, like, oh, you can't fault this player for being injured, right? Because players don't want to get injured, but players getting injured is a part of the assessment of a player. Like, you ever notice how, like, the great ones just, like, don't get injured? Like, you know what I mean? Like LeBron's played for, like, a billion years, really has never had that serious injury. Like, Kobe
didn't get injured towards the end. And Aaron Donald really played throughout. I mean, like the great ones just kind of don't get injured for the most part. Like Brady tore his ACL, and guys tear their ACL all the time, fluke plays, but kind of the knick-knack stuff, especially when they're young, you kind of see them tend to avoid.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you mentioned Kanata Mumfield along the way, and we've seen Jordan Whittington catch some passes. We've seen X Smith get in on the offense periodically. We've seen other, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Everydayers will remember this. Is why you got to show up every day. We were kind of talking about where we'd like to see them spend some of this draft capital coming up for next season. And I'm kind of more on the cornerback side, but you mentioned, and I think there's a really good argument for it, that you'd like to see them find a WR3 in this mix. Well, there's one right there that you just gave $10 million to, and you don't use him. I mean, that tells me all I need to know, that you're shorthanded in that particular spot. And Mumfield did a good job, and Whittington would do a decent job. And X Smith was the return guy in large part because Tutu couldn't do it because he was getting injured when he would try to return, going back to your original point. So it just didn't work. And it's not a personal evaluation. It's just how often do you play, what sort of impact do you have, and what kind of money do you make? And that equation for Tutu Atwell is just totally out of whack.
Yeah, and his defense just was not a good fit on both sides. And I think that maybe he could help a team. But what you're trying to say is if he's ever back in LA, he's going to always have to pay for his drinks. Like, I mean, he'll always have to pay for a drink for the rest of his time in LA.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. If anybody realizes it in the first place, it didn't work. And it sounds personal, and it's not. It just didn't work. And the part that's disappointing for me, D-Mac, was when they gave him that money last year. It was like, wait, what? That's a lot of money. That's $10 million you could spread around other places.
Yeah.
And it just was $10 million that was just never really utilized in a meaningful way.
It was a shocking move at the time. It was a surprising move at the time. And then with a team that had some weaknesses in key areas that you could have spent that money. I mean, we know cornerback in the secondary is going to be a priority. That's kind of making it a little more frustrating. But look, I know that this show, like, this is kind of mainly how we do the content. But I think next season, one thing I want to do is when Tutu Atwell is on another team, and if that team plays the Rams, I want to get a camera on you for when they play the 10-minute Tutu Atwell video montage on the Halo, because I know you're going to be cutting onions, man. Your eyes are going to be sweating.
Well, at 10 minutes, you'd really have to pare it down because there are so many moments that you could go and put up there.
You're going to keep they'll just do the touchdown against the Colts on loop, and also the flip against the Lions. That was a pretty good touchdown in the playoffs. But coming up next, more big takeaways from Sean McVay, and should we believe what he said about Davante Adams? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. There are over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. It saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. So for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners of Locked On Rams 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. You heard me right. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. And let's be real, no one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. So whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits can save hours every week. And knowing that you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time. That's gusto.com/LockedOnNFL.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so here in our third segment, picking up on these big takeaways from Sean McVay's end of the season press conference. And we talked a little bit about this week, the future of Davante Adams. And one thing really stood out to me in Sean McVay's comments about Davante Adams, outside of just fully expecting that he's going to be back, is we said that he has no reason to believe he won't return. So that's pretty tricky wording there. We'll talk about that. But McVay talked about how he noticed after the game how devastated he was. And Davante Adams' press conference, I mean, that was painful. Like, that was very sad to watch him lose his fifth NFC Championship game, so close to getting to the Super Bowl. A guy that's accomplished so much in this league, and McVay said he wants to help him get there. So now I think that the interesting thing is not just, okay, this is a guy, is he worth $28 million based on his production? Probably not. But now there's this like added layer to why they want to keep him on the team. And I'm not so sure I love that added layer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree. You could tell he was emotionally gutted by losing the fifth NFC Championship game, like you mentioned. That is to be that close to your dream, not once or twice, but 5 different times and come up short, has to be absolutely brutal. And, you know, he's one of the great players of his generation. I agree with you, though, Doug, that anytime and this is what makes the NFL so brutal and what makes it so difficult when your favorite player all of a sudden is on a different team, that the second you start making decisions to try and give one guy what he needs or what he wants, that's when the team as the whole can get a little weird. Look, Cooper Kupp's in Seattle for a reason. And it's not because Rams fans fell out of love with him. It's because they had to make hard decisions and move on from him. And do what was right for the team long term as opposed to what was right for the player in the short term. So I'm with you. I don't love the idea of having a player that is, you know, the reason you're doing X, Y, or Z. Now, I will also say this. Just because Sean McVay said it doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be that they operate it and make decisions. That they have shown a willingness to move on from players if they feel like it's the best option for the team. Again, Cooper Kupp is a great example of this, but I think they need Davante. I think that Davante still fits in really well to what they do. So I'm optimistic that he'll be back. But I don't even want to say other than Matthew Stafford, because there's a world where Matthew Stafford's gone. Other than Puka Nacua, I don't think anybody is untouchable at this point on this football team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty fair assessment. I mean, Jared Verse maybe, right? I mean, there's some other guys who make the case, but as far as those guys where you don't like the Shohei Ohtani of the team, right? Exactly. Like Puka Nacua is that guy no matter what. I totally agree with you on that one. And look, I will say this. We talked about Tutu Atwell's injuries and availability and types of things is, look, I mean, Davante Adams didn't play in week 16. And I mean, is that a domino effect, butterfly effect type thing? Is if Davante Adams plays in that game, do they win that game? Do they have the 1 seed? Are they playing this week? I mean, there's all those little things that kind of play into my mind. But I will tell you something. We know Davante Adams is a big Taco Bell guy, right?
Yes. I
took the plunge. And I went to Del Taco the other day, and it was outstanding.
There you go.
It was those fish tacos, they're so much better than they have any right to be. Like, it's probably crazy. But I got the fish tacos. I got a bean and cheese burrito with the green sauce. It was not the craziest. Or I kind of skipped the fries, and it'll be like, but the fish tacos, those might be the best fish tacos in California. Like, I mean, like, I know, you know, like I couldn't believe there's a fast food place. I'm taking my wife there Valentine's Day. It's crazy. Like,
It's look, I'm proud of you for putting your Taco Bell fandom aside for a second and giving it a shot. I'm glad it worked out for you. I'm very, very happy. Here's all I'll say, D-Mac, is now that you've done that, I would suggest that you go back and give those fries a run. Those crinkle cut fries that they got at Del Taco. I get it. It's Del Taco. That's, more. It's taco shop. It's Mexican food. It's burritos. It's quesadillas. It's tacos. It's all that kind of stuff. Just telling you, those fries are a game changer. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to twist too hard because that doesn't work on me. So I'm not going to say it to you. But I'm happy you went. I'm glad you like it. Give the fries a shot.
I'm just trying to not eat as many fries this year. That was the only reason why it wasn't the mix. You know what I mean? But I think for breakfast, I don't know when they open. I'll line up outside. I don't care.
There you go.
They're probably open now, so I'll head over there and I'll try those fries and I'll report back at some point this week. But that's gonna do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA, and you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers, and catch him on his radio show on ESPN LA. DeMarco and Travis, 3 to 6 drive time. So go check that out. Must listen for all LA sports fans. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.